What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Mac Effect. Your host here, Mike. Like always, thanking you guys for returning. Thanking you guys for continuing to come back, showing love, showing support to the channel, showing support and love to me. I really appreciate that. Guys, like always, I'm always thinking in my mind, you know, what interviews, what good conversations can I bring to you guys? And it's a little of an emotional episode for me for two reasons. One, this is season ending episode number 10. Number two is the guest that I have is someone that is very close to me. It's crazy how life drifts us away, but the love makes you feel like even though there's been years of gap where you speak to each other, the love makes you feel like I just saw you yesterday. And it's crazy because I love this dude so much. So with that being said, guys, I hope you guys enjoy. I hope you guys stay tuned for the next season as well. But for now, let's enjoy the moment. Let's enjoy the present. It is my honor, my pleasure to introduce to you guys my cousin, Hector. Hector, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Hector Naranjo. I'm Mike's cousin, and I'm very excited to be here. I just saw his latest episode the other day, and I think it's really awesome what he's doing here. I really hope that we can share a story that's going to benefit the viewers here today.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And well, the reason why I wanted to bring you, Hector, was because the other day you blessed me, bro. You blessed me. You gave me a call, and you're like, well, you're actually a business owner. You own a spa called Fijab Spa, right?
Fijab Spa.
Okay, yeah. I told you guys when I shared it on Instagram, I might butcher the name, but he does have this spa, and he was like, hey, we're doing a Father's Day special. Come through. We'll love to have you. And Hector, what service, bro?
So that was the Father's Day facial. So you guys should be seeing that pretty soon. Probably by Wednesday, it should be up. So everyone's going to see you getting that facial.
And I'll share it with you guys so that you guys can see that as well. Great spot. Before we dig in, because normally I like to know a little bit more about like your background, where you come from, which I have the cheat sheet because I kind of know you. I do want to dig in a little bit more when it comes to the business. I remember growing up, me and you, we were working at Crystal Lighting. One of our biggest things that I remember in the background, in the back of my head, Hector, and you can correct me, is this stupid red polvo that we would have to grab, toss on the floor, and then sweep the floor.
Yes.
Like, we were young. We were like 11, 12, 13, somewhere around there. And our job was to make sure we're sweeping. And that was your dad's. He was either co-owner or something like that with his brother, which I was like, oh, Hector's going to take on this business, Crystal Lighting. And Hector's a spa owner.
That's a very powerful moment that I think we'll get into a little bit later. I don't know if you wanted to talk about that now, but it's a little bit later in the story, in my story at least. But it's a very powerful moment. I think that's going to speak to a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, let's dig into it if you don't mind. Again, we'll go into the other stuff, like our childhood memories or whatever. But I am a little bit interested in because from the outside looking in, I was like, bro, your dad's setting you up. You're going to have like a successful business here. What you've always been kind of like, I don't know. I don't want to say it like
say it.
No. Well, I'm trying to say like, you've always been like the type of person that was like, I want to do things on my own. It doesn't necessarily mean like, yes, I'm grateful for my dad. I'm grateful for my mom, but I do want to do things on my own. Like, you've always just kind of been like that. I kind of have a feeling this is what kind of led you to this or whatever. But what happened, man? What happened?
Okay, so we're going to talk about that part?
Yeah, let's go.
So just a little bit before that, I did start getting closer to God and having faith, having faith in God, faith in myself. And so, there was a moment in my life where God had already helped me with so many different things. I mean, addictions, I would say even to some degree depression, problems in my sentimental life. I mean, God had restored my life. And I was at Crystal Lighting working with my father, basically my future company. And I was the head of sales. I had my sales team. We were doing sales with architects, with cities, even with military bases. I mean, I was traveling all over the place, doing presentations, living at the height of my life, all right? Bought my house. I mean, everything was great. And at this moment, I had a conversation with God. And I said, God, you've blessed me. You've changed my life. But I want to tell you that I'm still the same person that I was in the beginning. You let me know what you want of me, and I will do it. You can ask me whatever you want, and I will do it. And it was in that moment that God asked me for the most difficult thing he could ask me for, in my eyes. He said very clearly, leave your father's company and don't take anything with you. And I remember I was in the service in my church, and everybody's happy and singing, and I'm crying. I'm crying because what I'm about to do is the most painful thing that I've faced up to this point in my life.
Wow.
And it was painful in two reasons. Because, first of all, I didn't know what I was going to do. And second of all, you know, I had become such a important part in my dad's business that I felt scared for my father and for the business. I didn't know what was going to happen to them.
Yeah.
And I just said to God, God, I know you're going to take care of me, but I just ask you, take care of my dad. Take care of my dad's business. And I went to my wife. My wife said, let's do it. If that's what God is asking for you, then let's do it. And my father, I went up to my dad and I said, Dad, I need to tell you something. I said, I'm leaving Crystal Lighting. And he goes, do you have another job? And I said, no. And he said, then why are you leaving? And I said, well, you might think I'm crazy, but I really believe that God is asking me to leave. And he goes, what, do you hear God's voice now? And I said, no, but I believe that's what he wants. And he said, well, how do you know that it's God asking you?
Wow.
And I said, Dad, if I leave here and I come back here asking you for a job, it's because I'm crazy. But if I leave here and something happens, it's because it was God. And he says, I've always thought you're an intelligent man, so go do what you have to do.
Wow.
And it was like that. And it was very powerful because at that time, my wife, she had been working at a spa as an esthetician in LA. And I had already, prior to this, leased a small little room because I did want to have my own business one day. But I realized that the business I had didn't really require a room. It was mostly online. But I had a contract already, so it was just sitting there by itself. And my wife had asked me, like, hey, can I do facials in that room? And I said, sure, if you want. I mean, I'm not even using it.
Wow.
And she goes,
I say wow, and I'm sorry. It's just because I'm, like, as you're saying the story, I'm already kind of jumping to the future and, like, how good God is, like, baby steps. But go ahead.
And I remember when I told her yes, she goes, yay, I have my own spa now. And I was like, what? Own spa? Like, that's just like a little empty room, you know?
Yeah.
And so at that point, when I left my father's company, she was doing facials in that room. But I mean, we had a plastic table for our front desk, you know. We had a massage bed that was like so hard, you know, like people would complain about it. And we started just very humbly, you know. I myself also One thing that I'll talk a lot about in my life is there's a lot of sacrifice involved. And so during that time, it was my faith. I took everything that I had saved up and I just left it on the altar. And I had about $13,000 of credit card available usage, which would be perfect when you're trying to start a business. But I turned that into. So we started Fijab Spa with $13,000 in debt.
Wow.
And I remember that one of our first customers was actually our neighbor. There was a business that had just started just with us. And he came in there and, we felt, a little embarrassed. Our place wasn't that great. But he came in and he was very wealthy. He was from Egypt and he had just started his business, built beautiful offices. And during the facial, he was talking about, all these great things, right?
Adventures, his money. And you're just like, oh, good for you, bro.
Yeah. And so after 2 years, we had already expanded once in that same place. We took the unit next door, and we were already tight. We needed a bigger space. And so this neighbor, after 2 years, comes up to me and says, Hector, I'm going out of business. And I know that you need extra space, so I wanted to see if you wanted to take my unit. And fear came over me in this moment when I heard this, He said, I'm going out of business because I'm barely making enough to even cover the rent. So if you want the unit, it's right there. And in that moment, I realized he had all the conditions to be successful. And I had nothing, materially speaking, I didn't have anything. I mean, if you saw the place that we were in, it was so hidden. I mean, the street, the cars passed so fast. Like, it's even a miracle that people even found our location.
Wow.
And after 2 years, he went out of business, and we moved on to a better location in Friendly Hills in Whittier. And so it's just God's fingerprints all over everything, Yeah. And it's a big part.
Yeah. And it's crazy because, again, I know you more from my childhood times. So now that we're older, like, I had no idea this story, but like I said, I just see the hand of God. It was like, yeah, I have my first location or place, that's what your wife said. And that's God showing that's how it starts. Baby steps, little by little by little by little. And for me, it's just like my spirit just gets so grateful, the gratitude, because I just went in there the other day, Hector, and your spot is beautiful, bro. Your front desk is no longer a folding table. You have a lobby, the air conditioning, ice cold, the rooms, the doors. I even checked the doors. Like, when I was walking out, I touched the doors and I'm like, my goodness, like, these are good quality things. Like, it's a great place. You can see, I want to get emotional, but it's so beautiful how God is, bro, that the hand of the Lord is over you and your business.
It's the most beautiful thing. I always tell people that, we're always looking for security. For example, we have an insurance for security, right? Our car, our house. We have our savings for security, right? And so many other things, right? We like to have things that bring us a sense of security. But look at the homes that just burned in the Palisades over here in near Pasadena. What happened to their homes? Where's their insurance? And so our only true insurance in life is God.
Yeah, amen.
And one thing that's interesting is that a lot of people talk about like religion, and God doesn't want religion. God wants faith, And so when a person is using their faith, for example, it's more comfortable to not be doing God's will. It's more comfortable, right? And as human beings, for example, these are very comfy. I want to stay here forever, you know? In life, we get comfortable very easy. We're always looking to get comfortable, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But faith, living by the faith, is a total opposite.
Yeah.
It's being uncomfortable, you know?
Wow.
And it's when you're uncomfortable that God is able to shape you, God is able to guide you. And none of us want to go there, right? Like, for example, maybe some of the viewers here are going through problems right now in their life. We don't like going through them. But in the future, we're also going to go through what? We're going to go through problems still.
Trials, tribulations, absolutely.
You know, so that's where our faith comes in to help us overcome those trials.
I love it. I love what you're sharing, bro. Positive, great message. Like, the reality is, I mean, because even when you were sharing your story, like, I had to give up the company, I had to give up this, $13,000 in debt, that you gave up security, you gave up comfort. And I share this with the viewers, and I'm guilty of it too. I do it like sometimes, but then there's times where it's like, yeah, no, not today, you know, and it's okay. We're human beings. Like, it's nothing wrong with that, but it's crazy how right now, like, you're really speaking where it's like, we're going to have to do things that we don't want, but because we know that's what he wants, and that's what matters more. It's what he wants. And it's sad that sometimes it takes a sickness, it takes a tragedy, it takes something hard for us to finally kind of be like, okay, you know, I hope we don't have to get there, but if we do too, and we meet God, it is what it is, and I'm glad that we're meeting him one way or another. Okay, beautiful story when it comes to that, Hector. Now I do want to go a little bit rewind. I do want to go a little bit more in before, because you had an encounter with the Lord and you gave up the business. But before then, I remember me and Hector would work together at Crystal Lighting. We would hang out together. I would sleep over your house a lot of the times. Your dad actually is, and your mom, were like second parents to me, bro. Like, when my parents divorced, your mom and your dad really stepped up into giving me a home, feeling loved, welcomed. They treated me like if I was a child of their own at times, bro. Like, I'll share a story with you before I go into the questions of asking you, just because I hope it's a blessing to you. I remember when we were first going through a divorce, or my mom and dad was going through a divorce, your mom and dad would take me to sleep over, and we would go to a swap meet. And in that swap meet, I grew up in a place where I didn't get everything I wanted. Like, if I wanted some new shoes, if I wanted I was always a Nintendo system behind. Like, when 64 was out, I had Super Nintendo. When Super Nintendo was out, I had Nintendo. I was always like a system behind. We go to the swap meet, and my tia's buying Neva, this little bratty girl walking around. She's getting her everything. And then my tío Manolo wanted some shoes, and you saw some Nikes, and I saw those Nikes, bro, and I was like, dang, those things are so nice. Like, Hector's gonna get some really nice shoes. So I'm over here like leaning back, like, it's all good, you know. It is what it is. Like, I'm gonna wear my Payless shoes, like, it's all good. And then your dad says, Mike, get over here. And I'm just like, huh? And he was like, what size are you? And he got me me and you had those same shoes, you know. And as a kid, that just marks me. Like, I still have it till today, bro. I'm 39 and I still have it in my heart till today, because that was something he didn't have to do, but he did. So I just wanted to share that.
That's very beautiful, because, I mean, I didn't even know about that. You know, it went so unperceived in my part. But I think it's beautiful how when we decide to, it says in the Bible that more blessed are those that give than those who receive, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that sometimes that's the problem with a lot of us. I include myself in there, because everything we think, everything we say, everything we do has one beneficiary, and that is ourselves, you know? And there's nothing wrong with self-love. I know you talk about that a lot. Self-love, we have to have self-love. But sometimes it's, for example, we're not doing giving ourselves times or luxury spa experiences, but everything we do is say and act is for our own gain, and that's fine. You could do that, but why does it say that more blessed is he who gives than he who receives? Because the person who does everything for themselves, they already received their reward. But it's those people that give that are still waiting for their reward. And the reward is not going to come from the people. It's going to come from him. For example, I take care of a youth group. And a lot of these youth, they come from broken families. A lot of them don't have, financial conditions. I don't have any children myself, but I'm right there feeding them.
It's like they're your kids.
Every weekend.
Yeah.
It's like, it's as if I have kids. But to me, and I tell them this, it brings me more joy feeding you guys and being with you guys than having a great day in my business. It brings me more joy. It makes me more happy to do those things. We go and sometimes literally feed the homeless. I tell the homeless, it makes me more happy being here with you than having a great day in my business. And that's because what you receive from God is not the material things, right? For example, here in the United States, we have all the luxuries, right? We have Netflix, we have, AC, we have cars, right? Just go to a poor country and you'll see the difference, right?
100%.
Having so many things, we should be the happiest country in the world. Shouldn't we? We have everything.
Yeah, I believe so.
But what have we found? We're total opposite.
We're the depressed.
We're a very sad country. And even here, very nice neighborhood right here that you have. You look at the homes, they're beautiful, but sometimes you don't know the suffering that's going on inside of those homes.
I've said this in the past and I'll say it again. My old pastor said, I know people that are so poor that all they have is money.
That's it. And that was me in a sense, Mike, because even though, we were not millionaires or nothing like that, right? My family was well off, right? I had the luxury of having a family that my dad had his business, my mom worked, my parents were together. So materially speaking, for example, those Nike shoes touched you, but I got the Nike shoes too. And it didn't I don't even remember.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so materially speaking, I had everything. But at the age of 23, I was already, I would say, addicted to alcohol, depressed. And there was days, honestly, that I didn't even want to live.
Wow.
I never tried anything, never thought about hurting myself. But I would even ask God sometimes, Mike, that I didn't want to have a long life, that I didn't want to see the failure of life that I already imagined inside of me, And I had everything.
What was causing this?
So, I will get to that point. But I remember that when I first came to God on my own now, right? Because my mother would take me to church by force, and it made the opposite effect in me. I hated anything to do with God and stuff, right? But when I came on my own, I came broken, right? I said, God, I don't know if you're real. I don't know if I'm talking to the walls right here. But if you're real and you want my life, I will give it to you, because I don't even want my life. I said, if you're real, I'll give you my life. Just change the situation that I'm going through, And one of those, the biggest problem that I had really, Mike, was a big emptiness inside of me, a big emptiness, It's crazy because we're on this search. It's crazy. Like as a little kid, think about a baby. His mom leaves the baby. What does the baby start doing?
Cries.
Starts crying. Once the mom comes and holds him, the baby stops crying. He's happy because he wanted his mom. Now the baby gets a little older. Now he wants a toy, right? He cries and cries. You give him the toy, he stops crying. After a few days or a few weeks, what happens to that toy? Don't care for it anymore. We want what?
A new one.
A new one. So you bring the new toy. Then they grow up. They don't want toys anymore. They want a video game, right? Then they grow up. They don't care for the video game. They want a girlfriend, right? Then that girlfriend gets old. They want another girlfriend, right? So in other words, we're constantly in this search for happiness.
So good. I love where you're going. Yeah.
We're in this search to fill ourselves, right? And a lot of people find themselves in this situation right now where they are just constantly looking. They're going to concerts, they're going traveling, and there's nothing wrong with those things, right? There's nothing wrong with traveling, nothing wrong with concerts. There's nothing wrong with going to see all the movies that are available, right? But or trying a new thing, yoga or exercising every day, you know. But people are in this search every day, and they have moments of satisfaction, right? They have moments where they feel happy, but they're just moments, right? They're just moments. I remember that I would go every weekend. I try to do something crazier than the one before. I remember that in like a span of 2 weeks, I had spent over $60,000 in 2 weeks, and I got scared. I'm like, where did the money go? You know, like, in other words, this is not sustainable, you know? And it was because I was so empty that I was just trying to find a way to fill that emptiness inside of me, you know?
So good.
With girls, girlfriends, relationships, friends, and then the thing about friends, no? Sometimes, not all friends, we have some real friends, but when things run out, what happens with the friends?
They run out too.
They run out too. You know, but anyways, I had this moment, and I said, if you're real, God, you know, I'll give you my life. I don't even want it. And I remember that day I went to the place that I was always going to at that time, which was a bar. And I got there with the friends, and they said, what do you want? And in my conscience, I was like, oh, you literally just walked out of church, and now you're going to be drinking. But I was not strong enough. And I said, bring me a hef. It was my favorite beer. And they brought the beer. And once again, my conscience, you literally just walked out of church. You're actually going to drink. This is all in my head, right? No one's telling me anything, right? But I was too weak. And I drank. And when I drank that beer, it was the worst tasting beer in my life.
Amen.
And I told the waitress, you brought me a bad beer. And she goes, oh, I'm so sorry. Let me bring you another one. They brought the other one. Tasted just as bad. Then I realized just the smell of the alcohol from everyone else's cups was making me nauseous. I had to literally go to the restroom. And I went home early that day. And I'm staring at myself in the mirror, and I'm like, what is going on? I drink every day, and all of a sudden, I can't even smell it. And then I remembered, it was that prayer you did. And so from there, you know, during that time, I was praying for other things. I was praying for an ex-girlfriend that we had broken up. I was praying for my economic life. I was praying for a lot of things. But in the process, I remember one day smiling in the mirror. And you think, well, what's so special about that? Well, for a person that never smiled anymore, it's a very special moment, you know? And I remember that smile was not a fake smile. It was coming from my interior. And in that moment, I realized, man, I've been praying for all these different things. And in the process, I'm not depressed anymore. I'm filled. I feel happy, you know? I love myself again.
Wow.
You know? And so it was this search. I had finally found what I was looking for this whole life. You know? I was finally filled.
Yeah. I love it. I love it because I've shared this in previous episodes, and I continue to share it because the whole purpose of the Mac Effect is I want to bring healing. I want to bring growth. I want to bring development. Guys, I want us to do something different. What do I say about insanity, guys? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. If you're tired, if you're not happy with your life, because the truth is, guys, let's be real. We all lay our heads on a pillow at night, and that's when you really feel, I feel alone. I'm not happy. I just got myself the car of my dreams. Why is it that it's not filling me the way it did a year ago when I just bought it? Or the new phone, or the new this, or I just colored my hair. I've said this in the past. The ones that are fat want to be skinny. The ones that are skinny want to be fat. The ones that are tall want to be short. The ones that are short want to be tall. Why? And Hector, thank you for sharing, bro, because you're blessing me, like where God is showing you, like, guys, I'm not saying go completely nuts and like give everything up that you have, but there is a sense of like you got to let go of the security that you think is security, and you got to start holding on to the new security, which is God. And when you go onto that security, you could go to sleep in a 400 square feet apartment, but you're going to be smiling. And you're going to be going like, you know what, God? Maybe I don't have all these luxuries, but I'm no longer in the pursuit of the emptiness of what the world is giving me. $60,000 in a span of 2 weeks. Bro, I'm thinking you're living your best life. But when your head hits that pillow, you're still thinking, this isn't satisfying. This isn't making me happy. Living those years, Hector, where you were in your addictions and all that stuff, relationships and all those things, to the life that you're living now, which life do you prefer?
I was just thinking about this when I was driving over here, that the pleasure you get from living in obedience to God, even though you're limiting yourself from doing other things, is more pleasurable than doing whatever you feel like doing.
Yep. And I know that sounds like crazy. I know that sounds like there's no way. But you know what? I have gone to places where the Bible says, when you die to yourself, that's when you live. And when you try to live, it's when you're actually dying. So I hear you, and I'm in the same boat, bro, where I'm struggling. I'm going through my stuff. But in the middle of the chaos, it's like I feel like God's just holding me, and it's just like, okay, God. All right, God. Okay, God. Maybe I don't know what's going to happen next week, but I know right now, today, you're with me. And sometimes that's all it takes is just live the today. Don't worry about tomorrow. Just live the today, one baby step at a time. And it was all planted by your mom. I know you said you hated going to the church because your mom was kind of forcing you, but you were hearing the Lord little by little, self-consciously, and it stuck with you. I mean, the Bible says, instruye al niño en su camino, and hope, you're hoping that it's like they're never going to leave apart from it. And it was there. It was there, Hector. I'm really proud of you, man.
Thank you.
Your emotional intelligence, your development, your growth. I know we haven't spoken for a long time, but you were my Pokemon buddy, bro. Like, we had Game Boys where we would link them up with a cable, and he would switch his Squirtle and my Pikachu or my Charizard with his Bulbasaur, and we would do whatever we needed to do. And it's crazy because right now you shared, like, for me, those shoes were like nothing. And I would remember every time I would go to your house, I'm like, dude, I'm going to Disneyland. Like, this guy has Nintendo 64, Sega Dreamcast. Like, we would stay up late watching wrestling. We were big fans we grew up in the era of Stone Cold, Triple H, The Rock. Your mom was a big Rock fan.
Yeah.
She would always I didn't get it back then, but now that I'm older, I'm like, man, my tío Manolo wouldn't get like upset or something. Like the gestures your mom, not like in like bad ones, but your mom's like, oh no, The Rock. And I'm like, you're married. But it was probably just like, hey, I mean, it's good looking dude or whatever. It's not, she knew who she
was. The Rock. Right?
Yeah, it's like it was Dwayne Johnson. So yeah, I get it. Okay, Hector. Well, again, thank you for sharing all these things. I'm trying to think. Anything you want to share so that I can ask the question and then.
Well, I think the overcoming my mother's passing, I think, is very powerful.
Okay.
For people, that.
Okay, let's do that. Yeah, man. Well, thank you for sharing these great things because I can feel the Holy Spirit moving, bro. Like, I really do feel the Holy Spirit moving. One thing I do want to ask you, which I never really had the chance to ask you or Neva, when we lost my tia, when you lost your mom, how old were you when my tia passed away?
I was 19 years old.
19. A kid needs his mom. I'm 39 and I still need my mom till today. Man, I'm sorry that I never really kept following up and checking up. How did that impact you?
That was a very powerful moment in my life. Obviously life changing. So I grew up very, very dependent on my mom. My mom was everything for me. I mean, she was my mother. She was my best friend. And, she was the overprotective mother, right? She was always, did you eat already, mijo? Like, what did you eat? And this and that. And she always had food ready for me and always taking care of me. So I grew up very, very dependent.
Her quesadillas, bro.
They were good.
I was talking about that the other day with my tia Licha, and I was like, it sucks that you don't think this, but when someone passes, you never taste that food ever again, And I know someone can try to replicate it, which is good, but it's like and God hit me the other day because I love caldo de pollo. And I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No,
I should have let you keep going. I'm so sorry, but I love caldo de pollo.
They were very good.
and my mom's to me is the best. And God told me, enjoy it because this isn't gonna last forever. And I was like, God, you're telling me, and it's not like she's gonna die soon. You don't know what God is planning or whatever, but there's gonna be a day where I don't taste that anymore. So I'm sorry, man, but it's just something that I remember. Your mom, bro, those things were fire, man. I tried making you some, and salieron crudas las que yo te hice, bro, but your mom was bomb at that.
When I was, I think maybe 7, 8 years old, I remember being in the back of the Yukon. My mom was driving, and this song came on the radio. I don't even know the name of the song, but it was talking about a mother that had passed away and how much they missed the mother. And I started crying. And my mom saw in the mirror me crying in the back of the Yukon. And she's like, what are you crying about? And I said, well, the song made me think that, one day you're going to die. And she started crying too, And so at the age of 19, I remember taking my mother to the hospital. And it had become routine. She had cancer for about 6 years. So taking her to the hospital was normal. Only that this time, there was a difference. So the doctor came over, and it was actually me and your mother in the room. And the doctor basically said, we need your mom to sign this paper in case she dies. And it was the first time I heard that word. And so me and your mother, we started arguing with the doctor, no, she's fine, she just feels a little weak right now, but everything's fine. And as we're arguing with the doctor, my mother was already being sedated with the medication. And she woke up and she yells at me. She says, Hector, bring me the paper over here. Don't you see that I'm ready to go with Jesus? And she grabs the paper from my hands. She signs it and hands it to the doctor. It was a very powerful moment for me, because my mother was always worried for me. She was always, what have you ate? What are you going to do? Where are you going? When are you coming home? And in this moment, this was 7 days away from her death, this day. It was my last conversation with her. She was not afraid. She was not worried for me or my sister or anybody. And she was not afraid for herself. She said she knew where she was going. And she had complete peace in her. you know? And so this moment really impacted me afterwards, because I thought to myself, wow, physically speaking, this was her weakest moment of her life. Yet spiritually, she was so strong to face this moment. And I was the total opposite. I was 19 years old, you know, as physically strong as I could be, but spiritually, I was so weak in the moment, you know? And so I just want to say that it was also with me getting closer to God that I was able to feel, you know, that emptiness. And it's not time that heals. You know, a lot of people say time heals, but there's people that lost family members, you know, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years ago, and they're still sad. They're still down, right? It's almost as if a piece of them was taken away, or it's as if they died with the family member, you know? And that's because time doesn't resolve that, you know? What resolved it for me was when I had my encounter with God, when I got close to God.
Did you feel at that age like you I don't want to say shunned it away. You obviously felt it. You obviously cried. But like as you got older with your relationship with God, at some point did God kind of tell you hey, let's start talking about your mom once again. Like, let's try to heal you from this. Was it like in there without you even knowing, or was it something that you had already surpassed?
So what had happened was I was in a relationship at the time when my mother passed, and so I basically threw myself at this relationship. I had lost my mother, so I threw myself at this relationship, and then that relationship lasted about 5 years. And when I broke up with that ex-girlfriend, I felt the full blow of being lonely, you know, for the first time. And it was in that moment that I came to church for the first time. And I actually want to talk about something very powerful that I think will help listeners too. So in that relationship, so the reason we broke up was because of my infidelity. So I had been unfaithful for many years, and I kind of thought of myself as a good guy, you know. I didn't go around doing like stealing or doing anything terrible, yet I was doing this, right, for many years. And since I never had any consequences, basically I felt like I wasn't doing anything until the day hit, right?
So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but so you were numb. Like there was a part of, no, I don't want to say numb, but like, I'm trying to understand. I've never seen it that way. Like because I've always known like you don't do those things. You don't cheat on people or whatever. But I'm a little interested right now. You're gonna keep going with your story, but so even when you were being unfaithful, there was like a part of you that just like it. You didn't even feel bad for it because there was a part of you that just thought it was kind of like normal. Since I'm a good guy, I don't steal. I'm not abusive to her. I don't do these things. You just thought like I'm doing okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's interesting.
And it's something that I didn't even feel guilty for. It got to that point. You know?
Yeah.
And so, but one day, things revealed themselves because everything does.
Everything comes to light.
And I saw the destruction that I caused not only in this girl but in her family. And
yeah, because you don't just hurt her, you're hurting many people. Yeah.
And I felt terrible, right? Like, I mean, I always counted myself as a good guy, but in this moment, I got to see what I had become.
Wow.
And in that moment, I remember the mother of this ex-girlfriend. She never liked me. I think she saw through me, the type of guy that I was, and she was calling me, and I was at work. And I'm like, oh, this lady's going to let me have it right now. So I didn't answer. But in my lunchtime, I went in my truck and I called her back. This is a very powerful moment. I've forgotten about this. So I called her back and I'm just waiting for her to start shouting. And she answers the phone and she says 3 things. She says, Hector, I just want to tell you that I love you, that I forgive you, and that you need God in your life. And in this moment, I broke down, and I knew in that moment, it's the time to give my life to God. I had become something that I never thought that I would become. And in that moment, I realized, like, I've resisted God's voice for this long, and that's it. That's as far as it gets. I need to do this now. I didn't know where I was going to go. I didn't know what was the next step.
Yeah.
But the decision was made inside of me in that moment. Wow. The power of forgiveness is very powerful.
Wow. I'm listening to you, Hector. Makes me sad because it's like, as human beings, we create so much destruction around us without knowing sometimes. Sometimes you do know, sometimes you don't know. But it's like, it also led you to where you're at now. So it's like the Bible says, I will turn everything for its good for those who love the Lord. And if you didn't love the Lord, that would have turned into something really bad. It could have been suicidal. And I'm sure at the time you were even going through those thoughts, like, maybe this world is better without me. I caused all this pain. Hector, I have those thoughts today. Like, maybe I'm the wrong one. Maybe I should just leave and make life easier for everyone else. And then God says, he hits me with many different things, but he always comes at me with my kids. He's like, so you really think your kids, the day that they graduate from high school, they don't want to see their dad in the stands? You really think that's what they want? You really think the kids don't want dad at their basketball games or football games or whatever cheering them on? You really think that's what they want? So anyways, I can hear the process that you've gone through, where like you confronted the ugly. You confronted the Hector that you're like, and excuse my language, but it's like, you're a piece of shit, bro. And we need to change. We're not going to stay here anymore. We need to change. And I can clearly tell it was the Lord, and I get goosebumps, but it's beautiful. The Lord has redeemed you to the point where it's like now, you know, like, I did do that, but it's not who I am. Have you spoken to that girlfriend or that family ever since, or no?
No, there was a defining moment there, no, where I remember someone from my church came up to me at the time. I had maybe a month in church, and he asked me, you know, how are you doing? I said, oh, I'm feeling better. And he goes, and how's your ex-girlfriend doing? And I said, not very good. I'm here trying to change my life, and she's trying to destroy my life, you know. And he said to me, well, let me tell you something. Your ex-girlfriend, she's going to come back to you. And I was like, wow, like, awesome, thank you, you know. And he goes, but when she, you're laughing already, huh? But when she does, you're going to have to see if that's really what God wants for you. And when I thought about that, I'm like, I kind of don't like that second part, you know? I just remember the first part. But probably within a month or two, she called and said, you know, I want to give things a second chance. And this is what I had been praying for, you know, for 2-3 months. Like, this is all I prayed about, right? And here I had it in front of me. But in this moment, 150%, I knew that that's not what God wanted for me. And it was very painful. But God was telling me, look, you do what you want. You're not obligated to do anything. If you came here just to get your ex-girlfriend back, then you can take your ex-girlfriend and go back to your life. But if you want more of what I've already started to show you, then you're going to have to sacrifice that relationship. Oh, man, this is what I most wanted, to be with this girl. And I told her, look, I don't want to give things a second chance. You know, God has something for me. I believe God has someone better for you, and hopefully he has somebody for me too. And just in that day, we shut that door. That was it.
Wow. Crazy. Wow. I can't even say, like, it's just, that's
I know to some
high caliber stuff.
To some viewers, maybe this might turn them off a little bit, but I know that there's some other viewers that this is really going to help them out.
100%, Hector. 100%. I mean, beautiful stories that you've gone through, that you're going through. So now Hector is, you said you're helping youth. You're like are you a youth pastor?
So I'm not an ordained pastor. I'm an assistant in a church.
Okay.
But recently, also about a year ago, they put me in charge of the sports program for the church sports program, I guess. And so I'm basically taking care of about like 100 branches in California. How do we do it? Only God helps us, because it's a lot of work. But
For real.
but literally, we've done tournaments every month. We're doing tournaments, every sport you can think of. We just did a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament in Downey about a month ago. This month coming up, or actually this June, we're going to have something called the Summer Games, where we've basically rented out the whole Southgate Park. And we're going to have, you could think about it, like all types of sports going on at the same time.
Basketball, soccer.
Yeah, everything. And it's really cool because I also connected to my business. I get a lot of business sponsors, and I connect with a lot of people,
Correct.
So it's really all.
Which is the experience that you got at Crystal Lighting that God gave you to use it for what you're doing now.
Yeah. Everything.
Crazy. What does Hector do for fun? Does he still play basketball? Do I still see T-Mac in him? Or
It's funny because taking care of sports, I don't always get to play, but sometimes I do. And I'm 36 now, so imagine playing with 18 and 19 years old. It doesn't go very well, Yeah, no. But yeah, that's our joy. It's our kids, like we said earlier, right? Those are our kids. We take care of the youth. We take them out to eat. And then the important part is that on the other side, my wife, she loves this too. We talked about this before. Me and my wife are just complete opposites, two different people, right? A lot of people struggle in a relationship. A lot of people, because they do things reverse. Normally you meet the person, you get to know them, you get married, then you move in and have kids, right? Mm-hmm. People do that reverse nowadays.
Yeah, correct.
And by the time they're married and have kids and living together, they realize, oh my God, we're so different people,
Yeah.
Can I talk about something in regards to that, or running out of time?
Yeah. No. No.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay. So when I was going to get my license to get married with my wife, I had a very powerful moment where we were going to get our license, and there was this big room. And before the line to get your license to get married, you had to pass through the line for divorce. And as I'm standing there, I'm analyzing here. Everybody in the divorce line were angry, mad. And everybody in the marriage license side are all holding hands, hugging, kissing. And I'm standing there and I'm thinking, how can all these people standing in the divorce line have gotten it wrong? Because I believe that they did their part in trying to find somebody that was like-minded, that had similar interests. They went through that process, and they came down to this person and said, this is the person I want to marry. So how can it be that there's this huge line of people now divorcing? And what came to me, and I've realized in my marriage, now I have almost 10 years married, is me and my wife, no one's the same. Even if you pick somebody that has all the similar likes as you, they're still a different person, 100%, right?
Yep.
So when you come to live together, you have two different people that think differently. Okay, so that's already an obstacle that needs to be resolved, right? But what makes things work, because in my case, I could say, if I were to judge by like the people that say, oh, you need to find someone like this and like that likes this, or what are your hobbies? They could get really into doing their homework, right? I probably did the worst job because me and my wife are complete opposites, Whatever I like, she doesn't like, and vice versa. But what makes it work is that right in between us, God is there.
So good. I want to give you a statistic, Hector, that I learned these past couple of months. They've gone back to couples that have divorced after a year, and they've asked them, do you regret getting a divorce? I believe it's 81% say yes. 81% say yes. And then they go back after 2 years to ask them, do you regret getting a divorce? And it jumps up to like, I don't want to butcher it. I think it was like 92 or 94% say yes, that they regret it. And the enemy's after marriages. Right. And the reason why is because if he can break down the marriage, then he can attack the children, if there is children. But at the end of the day, if he breaks the marriage, like in your case, and in the name of Jesus, he's not. But if he breaks it, then he also breaks the youth that you're ministering. He also breaks the connection of those parents, like all the youth, not just one, all of them, right? And all those lives get affected and impacted. And it goes back to like, I think when you said like, I can't believe they all got it wrong. I don't think they got it wrong. I think it's a matter of pride. It's a matter of growth and development that they needed to mature in and realize, because everyone wants the new toy. Oh my God, my wife, new toy? Yeah, no. Realize being content with the heart, with what truly matters. But we could go into that a lot deeper, and I don't want to, but I know that the Lord has been calling me. I don't know about you, but I'm definitely interceding for a lot of marriages, bro. Yeah. A lot of marriages.
I'll tell you one thing, like, for example, nothing against therapists, they all have their place in life, right?
Yeah.
Like a doctor, right? They have a place in life. They help so many people out, right? But there's a story of this woman who she was a doctor, and she started suffering with depression. And she started to see a doctor or a therapist to help her with her depression. And she was doing her sessions. I'm sure they gave her some kind of medication. And one day she walks in to see her therapist, and it's a different therapist. And so she goes over to the front desk and says, "Hey, what's going on? The other doctor was treating me for my depression, and I really got to know him, and I felt comfortable with him. Why is there a new one?" And the front desk said, "Well, we regret to tell you, but the other doctor is no longer here. He died." I said, "Died? How?" He took his own life. In other words, the person that was supposed to help her with her depression was depressed himself, and he killed himself. Imagine this woman. She's now in her church. She told her story. But imagine how she felt in this moment. Imagine what thoughts came through her. Like, if my doctor, the guy who's supposed to help me, committed suicide, then what should I do? Right? And so we have to go to the doctors. We have to go to the therapists. We have to go to the professionals that can help us, yes. But there's certain things that are just so complex for even human beings that we can be there hours and hours trying to investigate why this and why that, and maybe it's because of this or because of my upbringing. It's so complex. We're never going to figure it out. But guess who knows it all? Guess who has it figured out? It's God.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's the one that will not fail you. It's crazy. It's crazy, but you're hitting it right on the head. Hector, man, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Guys, if you guys have any questions for Hector, leave them in the comments. I'll forward them over to him. I'll have his information there on the screen too, so that you guys can reach out to him. Again, blast from the past. This is who I grew up with. Guys, I used to wear his underwear when I would run out of mine. That I'm saying, guys, that's cousins, okay? No se hagan. Ustedes también tienen primos, and that's how things would go. But Hector, where can people find you on social medias, on websites, platforms, so that I can add it on to the screen?
Yeah, so it would be just Fijab _Spa. and Instagram. I think TikTok is just Fijab Spa. There's only one Fijab Spa, so if you don't put the underscore or any of those things, we're gonna pop up. You know?
Okay, perfect. And again, guys, anything that you guys can share with us, what has blessed you, leave it in the comments, because I love reading what touched you, what blessed you, what moved you. I like knowing, what is God, where is he trying to take it for the next seasons, for the next episodes, and things like that. So your feedback is super important and huge. Hector, man, I really appreciate you coming, bro.
Man.
Thank you for coming. It's a blessing. I'll say this to you the same way I say it to all my guests. When you come on the podcast and you bless me with your time and you bless me with just coming and believing in this, you're healing an inner child in me. So thank you for that, man. I really appreciate it. Guys, I'll see you guys next time, next season. Super excited. God bless you guys. Peace.